Uncle Doug.
To who?
Remember the thing I showed you, that the little growth I showed you right on my back there?
I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, right. It hasn't, despite application of all of Western medicine's knowledge and abilities, it still hasn't gone away. So I'm kind of feeling at wit's end.
Who uses Western medicine?
That's right, everybody. Yeah. We're going to be talking about vestigial tails today.
It's lump talk.
Mark, has it stopped migrating? Tell us that.
No. It is the wall has not prevented it. So I'm just hoping for some remedy here.
Well, don't worry. Even if Western medicine, a.k.a. medicine, has failed you, there are people that can help you.
Oh, thank God.
Tell me, how does your herb cabinet look?
Well, probably a lot like you think.
Okay.
I don't have one.
Perfect. We're going to get you into see a naturopath or a naturopath or a That's right. Today we're talking about naturopathy or naturopathy or any.
These are people who are psychopaths about nature. Go on.
That's right. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And before you at me about the pronunciation, I have heard actual practitioners of this art. Well, I don't know what to call it, of this practice.
Yes.
Call it both. All of these pronunciations.
It's a bit of a red flag.
The fact that they don't know how to pronounce their own thing. Yeah. Maybe. Could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've only ever heard it called oncology.
Nope. That's a very different thing. As is osteopathy, which I had to go down that rabbit hole a little bit. Which, by the way, osteopathy turns out is actual medicine. It's like if you get a doctor of osteopathy, that's a medical doctor who has all of that medical doctrine plus a little bit of woo, which is funny.
Yeah, sure.
That's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about naturopathy. There's a long history of naturopathy, which they claim goes back to Hippocrates and maybe back to the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda or of Chinese medicine. They use all of the ancient wisdom.
Right.
Sure.
So that's really good.
Right. All the ideas people had before we knew what made you sick and how to fix it.
Right. Before we knew anything about anything.
Yeah.
They put all that in a poultice and stick it on your sore.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the fields of aviation and rocket science could benefit from ancient wisdom.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The appeal to antiquity is a strong and powerful fallacy. Anywho, this goes, the current incarnation of this particular practice goes back to the 1800s, probably mid to late 1800s, arising out of Europe's natural cure movement, in scare quotes, with probable influence by all sorts of American kooks like Kellogg and Graham, and a lot of appeals to ancient wisdom, untainted by the stupid nerds who jabbered all the time about this newfangled scientific method.
Dopes.
So the undisputed champion of naturopathy in the United States was a German-born fella delightfully named Benedict Lust. Yeah, really sexy.
That's what I call Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's right. That's what everyone calls him. He didn't invent the term, though. Apparently, he bought it.
He bought the term of naturopathy?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
From a guy named John Scheel. But that doesn't matter. It's his now, and he can do with it whatever his lusty little heart desires.
Absolutely.
Nerdy side note, if you're going to buy a word that somebody just made up, at least make sure that word isn't a mongrel word. Natura is from the Latin, meaning nature or birth, and pathos is from the Greek, meaning suffering. So, come on, if you're going to come up with a new word and you want it to sound all fancy and sciencey, keep your ancient origins consistent.
That's a Mediterranean mashup right there. That's no good.
That's
no good.
I'm not a fan of hybrid words. Then again, we got a lot of them.
Yeah. That's putting your tzatziki in your marinara. That's no good.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
This is my point. That's exactly my point. End of this segment.
Right.
In 1896, Lust opened a health center and a health food store in New York City. He had been sent to the U.S. by one of his proteges, he was the protege of a guy in Germany. Sent him to the U.S. to be he was a proponent of hydrotherapy at the time,
Hydropathy, Dan.
Thank you. And there are all of these sort of wooey things that were just sort of floating around in the ether, and everybody was claiming to be able to cure everything. I mean, let's not forget that this is still the time of like snake oil and like actual like
Again, golden Bibles.
right, yeah, and fucking people using cocaine to cure everything in the world. Anyway, he opened a health center and a health food store in New York. Also opened the New York School of Massage and the American School of Chiropractic. So he was a busy little beaver. And in 1901, he opened the American School of Naturopathy or Naturopathy in Manhattan.
Yeah.
He served as that organization's only president at the time.
Yeah.
A disciple of a guy named Adolf Just, or Just, as we would say it.
Lust and Just, huh?
Lust and Just.
Yeah.
What's funny about that is that after I read that, I actually wrote a limerick. It's so stupid, but I was just like, that's just, I don't know, too good.
Are you going to share it?
Do I have to?
Well, what you do now?
Okay, fine. Here, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here
I'm
we
ready.
go.
Yeah.
A German named Benedict Lust learned nonsense from a fella named Just. They claimed to be healers, but were just bullshit dealers. The lust that you just shouldn't trust.
Oh, that was great.
That's it. We're done. The show's over.
Huh?
Yeah.
We did it.
You did it.
Oh, I feel better.
That was
I
great.
feel good.
I feel like there's a lot of limerick pressure on the rest of us in the
Yeah,
coming
I know.
episodes. So get ready, people.
I mean, you guys don't even haiku. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, hey now. I fucking haiku, all right? I fucking haiku. A limerick is a little comical for me, but a haiku I'm deadly serious about. But let's go on. What were we talking about?
When you do something Japanesey, you'll break out the haiku.
Herbalife, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, indeed. Yes, actually, but
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
All right.
There's a lot more history to this thing, but frankly, I'm bored by the history of it. Let's talk about what it is. So there are principles of naturopathy, including, you won't be surprised to learn, the healing power of nature. One of the most basic concepts is that our bodies all have sort of an inherent ability to maintain and restore their own health. And all you have to do is support that ability, and all of your problems will just go away. A lot of our problems are just caused by, an imbalance. And if this starts to sound a little bit like, the humors or any other sort of long discredited sense of how the bodies work,
Right.
correct. It does sound like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're big into identifying and treating the cause of the thing, not the symptoms. So, so they
Because the symptoms won't kill you, and they don't hurt.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, they will say that symptom management is a thing, but and boy, does it sound good when you go in and you're like, oh, my side has a thing, or I'm hurting in the thing, and they go, oh, let's figure out what the cause is. Those are symptoms.
It's literally the doctor, my arm hurts when I do this. Don't do that.
Well,
Cured.
No, not don't do that. Let me show you well, first of all, let's talk about your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And then that bone that's poking out of your arm will be fixed.
That's right.
So they're very into that. They're very into treating the whole person.
Of course. They are.
One delightful doctor said, it's more important to know what sort of patient has a disease than what sort of disease a patient has.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow.
I love that one of the websites that I went to that was promoting naturopathy, quoted Thomas Edison, which I think a higher source one could not go to, who said, the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest patients in the maintenance of the human frame, in diet, and the prevention of disease. So they talk a lot about diet. They talk a lot about
about right.
prevention. Prevention's a big deal.
Was the doctor who gave us that quote earlier, did his name happen to be Tobias Funke?
Yes.
Was just, yeah.
100% that's who that was.
Are you right for the disease? Is the disease right for you? Fucking insane.
Now, I should mention, caveat emptor, one thing that the discerning consumer should know is that there is a big difference between what is called a naturopath and a naturopathic doctor, a.k.a. a naturopathic medical doctor.
Okay, great. Good to know.
It's a very big and very real difference. A naturopath is someone who could have just taken some online classes and gotten a certificate about herbs and energies and cheese and shit. Obvious bullshit.
Sure.
A naturopathic doctor actually went, and this is true, to 4 years of accredited graduate schooling, often did a residency, and in many states is licensed to practice. So their bullshit is much less obvious.
But their bullshit costs them a lot more to get.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
But make no mistake, it is still fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
They go through a lot of training, and they do get some of the same basic, like scientific medical classes that doctors get. But then they branch off into unsubstantiated, non-scientific nonsense.
Foofery, yeah.
Indeed. So it's funny because if you ask a naturopathic doctor if they are a homeopath, they will get very offended. However,
whatever.
If you ask them if homeopathy is part of their practice, oh yeah, 100%. They're super into that. It is like completely integral to their practice. But they look down their noses at a homeopath because that's not a real doctor like I am.
Oh my God. Okay. So dumb.
Yeah. So, they recommend all of the good woo. They like the acupuncture, the chiropractic, the massage, the herbs, which, while some of those things can be helpful, spoiler alert, not acupuncture, they're not going to cure your asthma, which is what they say it will do.
Right.
I'll just give you an example of some of the recommended treatments. This is from Bastyr University, which is in, I believe, Washington, and they have a campus in San Diego. And they're one of the big, quote, accredited naturopathic doctor schools.
Okay.
So this is the treatment for angina. Nutrient therapy with selenium, CoQ10, magnesium, and niacin, limiting fat intake, removing sucrose, alcohol, and caffeine from the diet, botanical medicine, doses of ginger, ginkgo biloba, aconite, and bromelian. Now, if you happen to be a type A personality, then you should also probably go through a detoxification diet, colon hydrotherapy, castor oil packs, food allergy elimination, juice fasts, hormone replacement therapy, lifestyle changes, and monitoring of uric acid levels.
I just want to understand, what is colon hydration therapy?
Just what you think it is, Doug.
Okay.
It is. It's
Yeah.
I think it's like
Get a hose up there and turn
high
it on.
colonic.
Yeah.
So there you go. That sounds easy enough, right?
Yeah.
And also will not treat your angina, but you'll have gone through a lot. So at least there's that.
Right. You will have given up everything good in life, but
You'd be so miserable you've forgotten about your angina.
Right, yeah. So none of this will do anything for your angina. But you know what's not good for angina? Not treating angina. So there's a real problem here. And part of the problem is that people, proponents of naturopathy, are constantly lobbying for more recognition by the idiots that we have running our political systems. And many of those idiots believe them. So what we have is 26 or something states and several provinces in Canada that actually license these bozos to practice some sort of, quote unquote medicine. So,
right.
Including our fair state of Utah.
Duh.
You're right.
Yeah.
These people can see, they have a clinical practice. They can put a certificate on the wall that says doctor of naturopathy and stuff, and they can say that they're licensed. They can use a whole bunch of words that we in our society believe means they are qualified to treat us.
Yeah,
And
I think
they're
Go
not.
ahead.
They're very much not qualified to do that. Even though they've taken a lot of classes, they've done some clinical work with patients. It's all of that clinical work was taught to them by other naturopaths. So they don't have real proper medical training, and it shows in their outcomes, which you'll be shocked to learn aren't great.
Yeah.
Right.
Surprise.
Right.
Now, mind you, do they have vast literature on how good or bad their outcomes are? No. Why? Science isn't their thing, so they're not really working hard toward that end, and that's kind of what the problem is.
Right. If all their terrific old Chinese medicine worked as advertised, Chinese people wouldn't die. But as Woody Allen said in Sleeper, when his friends had all it was 200 years in the future or whatever it was, and the doctors are like, you have to understand, all your friends, everyone you know, they're all dead. And he said, but they all ate organic rice.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're all going to die, and it's a good thing, I think.
Well, and I wanted to look this up just to make sure I was right, but I did, and I was. Aforementioned Thomas Edison died of complications from diabetes. So
Yep. He knew all there was to know.
Right.
I mean, yes. If there's a greater authority on the health of a human being than the guy who invented the light bulb, I don't know who it would be.
And he died of diabetes after he electrocuted an elephant to death, so fuck that guy.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you drew that line. That's perfect.
Yeah. I think that's the line I draw right there.
Right. If you want to look further into this stuff, there's a crusader against this practice named Britt Marie Hermes, who is she's a very smart young woman who actually was a naturopathic doctor, went through all the training, had a practice, and then actually figured out, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing something that I'm not actually qualified to do.
Right.
And sort of had an epiphany and has been crusading against it ever since. She has a really smart website called naturopathicdiaries.com, and she just sort of talks about she's now got, I think, a master's degree in science, and she talks about the difference between her experience and what she learned in her naturopathic education versus what even a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant learns in their studies. For instance, the hours that she studied pharmacology, 27.5 hours of pharmacology study, as opposed to a nurse practitioner who can get, 100 to 115 hours.
Wow.
Or a physician's assistant who can get anywhere from 90 to 120. So, but if we turn it on its head, she got 88 hours of homeopathy, and they got 0. So she's really ahead of them on that. And she got 132 hours of botanical
there you go.
study, and they got 0.
The glass is half full of hemp extract.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The other and she got 203 hours of manipulation, which they didn't get any of, which is basically it's just massage. You know what I mean? Like that and a little bit of chiropractic thrown in just for fun. Just so they got 0 of any, these quote unquote real doctors.
Newfangled Western doctors.
Here's the thing. Some of this stuff might be useful.
Yeah.
How do we know? The FDA doesn't regulate any of the dietary supplements that they're recommending. And the problem is that some of these dietary supplements, maybe they're fine on their own, but they can be dangerous in combination with each other or in combination with actual drugs that a person might be taking.
Right.
But people love to add their complementary medicine and their alternative medicine to what their doctor's already doing without actually checking in.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's in the best interest of the supplement companies to never have any science done about them unless they've funded it. Because the last thing that they want is for people to find out that it might interact with something, and then they don't sell as much. So there's very real danger with this stuff. And, you know,
Absolutely,
it's one of those things where I can sympathize. A lot of people, they go to a doctor and they have a really negative experience. Either the doctor or a series of doctors wouldn't listen to them, which is the case for especially women in our system. They don't get listened to. So they get disillusioned with doctors and therefore with Western medicine. And then they go to somebody else who has the word doctor in their title, who is licensed in their state, and that person is nice and says all these things about, like, your body knows best, and, you know, we're going to treat this with herbs, and you know, we'll give you a massage, and who doesn't like that? Mm-hmm. And they traditionally spend a lot more time with their patients, doctors of naturopathy. Some of them even, like in some states, they can even charge your insurance, your medical insurance. So It's like the experience is a very different one, and I think a lot of people really prefer
Let's focus on customer service.
Right? Yeah, exactly. They prefer the emotional experience of going to these people.
Right. Well, it doesn't mean that there aren't problems with how proper Western medicine is delivered.
Yeah.
Right. That
100%.
You know,
that is a real problem.
That's a real fucking problem that needs to be fixed. That doctors spend 2 seconds with you, that you can't get an appointment, you may not have insurance, you may not even have access to Western medicine because of how fucked up the commodification of it is, especially in the United States. So, that needs to be fixed. But it doesn't mean the answer is try anything but Western medicine.
Right. And the other thing is that, like, you know, maybe you had a reaction to a drug that you were prescribed and you had a really bad experience and it was worse than before and whatever. So all of that stuff, that can happen with our current medical system. Yeah. However, our current medical system actually has, like, when you have a bad reaction, that gets taken down and that gets added to the literature, and then, you know, if too many people have the same bad reaction, the FDA goes, you know what? We have to not do this drug anymore. Too many people are having a bad reaction. Or we've now noticed that this drug now interacts with this other drug. Right. And all of that is very well tracked. So over time, the science works.
It gets better.
And things improve.
Yeah.
Whereas
and if enough people get addicted to OxyContin, eventually we won't do anything about it.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
The science is it's a perfect system. Is what it is.
It's flawless.
But the fact that it's a very much imperfect system doesn't mean that an even imperfecter system is what you should turn to.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there you have it. Naturopathy, naturopathy, however you pronounce it, even if it's got a good limerick about it, it's still probably not a good idea to go to. Don't waste your money.
That's right.
And you know something else that can be found in nature? Bullshit. So stick that up your butt and see how it makes you feel.
All right. Well, let's move on.
Let's move on.